Hi everyone, Harmony in the Highest here, and I am back with another video. So this is my second one today, and I'm probably going to do a few more after this. Um, just try to get in a roll with it. And I think the more I talk, the more comfortable I'm going to get talking to you guys. So I'm just going to keep practicing. Um, and today, I think that I'm just going to talk about the topics that are like fresh on my mind because that's the most like alive for me and the most like relevant in my life, and maybe they will apply for you guys as well. So I have a past of being in the spiritual community. I spent 7 years in the spiritual community in the DC area, and honestly, it was a really beautiful time in my life. And I now see where, um, God didn't want me there, and I've repented and everything for it. But that's right now besides the point. What I wanted to talk about was as we transition, those of us who like were in the spiritual community, as we transition and as we really fully step into like our path with Christ, our walk with Christ, which I fully have embraced and I fully am on my walk with Christ. Do we have the obligation to kind of go back and tell our brothers and sisters who are still in the spiritual community about our findings? And like, what does that mean? So like, I think I want to just open up the question to you guys of, maybe some of you who have also been on spiritual paths, do you feel that it's our place um to go back and sort of like and spread the gospel to sort of educate our brothers and sisters still in the spiritual community about Christ. Like, I don't know why whenever I come on here, I also get these like blanks in my mind. So I feel like the enemy's doing that, but I'm going to keep pushing through it. You guys are really going to witness my raw process as I'm starting this channel and I overcome whatever obstacles like the enemy has set in my way, whether it's intentional now or if it's like residual stuff left over from the mental illness that I experienced. I'm just going to keep pushing through. So you guys are going to see my raw, my messy process through this. Um, but yeah, so it's just been posing the question like, do I have the place? Do I have the place to like share this with my brothers and sisters, my community when I post on Facebook, when I go online? Do I, you know, does God want me like teaching them about my journey, you know? Because it feels so different because when I was on my spiritual path, like it was all about respecting the other people's journeys that they were on. And I never had to like preach anything to them because they were on a they were on the journey with me. You know, and even if they weren't, I didn't have the desire to change their minds or their hearts. I guess it's not a normal part of like who I am. Like I definitely have a preachy side. Like I will definitely own the fact that I have a preachy side. However, I also have a very accepting side. Like I'm also very accepting of other people's paths, and I like to let them be. I like to let them like live their path to the fullest. Like that was always my way of being with that. And then I would compare notes and I would love to see like, where there was common ground and everything. That was always like really beautiful. But, now I wonder, with the Christian path, it's the path that I'm on now, it's different because it is more black and white. It is more like, you're either, it says it's like you're either going to heaven or you're going to hell. It's a lot more black and white. It's not like we accept every way as valid. It's because when Jesus came, he was saying, like he said, like, I am the way, the truth, and the light. And he said, like, the only way to the Father is through me. And he was basically saying to every other religion that they were practicing idolatry. They were worshiping the idols that the Lord had created, even whether that was nature, even whether whatever that was. And from someone who's come from like a shamanic background, somebody who loves nature, somebody who loves like the elements and everything, um, I had a hard time accepting that. Like when I first came across that information, I had a hard time accepting that that was idolatry, and I still struggle with it. Like, so I want to take you guys like kind of on this journey with me because I've had questions, and I want to like let you in on those questions. It might be helpful for you, to hear like me vulnerably talking about it and discussing it. But what I've come to accept for myself is that if the Lord says that that is in fact idolatry, and that the Lord has shown me just how very real He is, um, how very like omnipresent, how very real He is, um, and how He is everything. Like how much He can take away your freedoms in a second, um, how much He can take just your freedom in existence, like your freedom to move around and to feel free in your body. He can take that away from you, like at any time, which shows that He is a sovereign Father. He's a sovereign Lord. Like, He has the ultimate authority. And anyone who has experienced demonic bondage, like me, like I have in this past, I've gone through almost like 2 years of demonic bondage, understands that sovereignty and the authority of the Lord, and how it's not always what I, Monica, want to accept as true. It's not always doesn't always come down to like what I want my truth to be, you know, because God is beyond all of that. The enemy is messing with me in the background. That's part of demonic bondage, and I've been shown that I'm like coming out of my wilderness season, but I'm still in it. And so um, what I was just experiencing was demonic bondage, and I can do videos to go more in depth about what that means. But the enemy definitely has ways of like controlling us and controlling like what we say and things like that. But the Lord wants me to share, and so I am going to share. I'm going to push through the obstacles, and I'm not going to stop because people don't yet understand certain realities, Um, I didn't understand these realities 3 years ago. Like before I was on this path, before I was saved, I didn't understand the reality of demonic bondage and what that meant. And sometimes I struggle with the question of, do I want to ruin people's innocence? You know, do I want to, if people haven't experienced this, do I want to ruin their innocence? Do I want to take that away and share something that's so dark with people who may never encounter demonic bondage? Hold on one second. Because I believe that every person has a right to their own journey, and I believe in maintaining the innocence of people. You know, So that's why I struggle. I struggle because I know the realities, certain dark realities now that point to the fact that heaven and hell are real and that we should take our salvation with the Lord very seriously. And I struggle with sharing that with people partly before their time, like before God has called them, before, you know, God has deemed it to be time for them to know of those realities. So, that's my struggle. Like I am about preaching the gospel. I am about vulnerability, but I've gone through things now where it's like I don't necessarily feel the luxury of being vulnerable all the time and truthful with my experiences because my experiences have been dark in the last few years. And I don't know if that's for you guys to know, honestly. I have no problem like sharing the reality of what I'm facing. I don't have any problem with that. I actually enjoy uncovering darkness and talking about the truth of a situation. I actually enjoy that. I really like truth. I love truth. And it's been difficult for me to not be able to share the whole truth because of trying to protect people from these harsher realities. And yeah, it's like, who am I to take you down my path? You know, who am I to subject you to my experience? Like, those are the questions that have been on my mind, and they're valid. They're very valid questions because, somebody who's been like kidnapped or whatever or sex trafficked, they would have the same struggle. Like, not everybody's going to want to be exposed to your story. Even though I think it's important that we are exposed to the reality of sex trafficking. And I'm really glad that now we are really like we're facing it as a society. I think facing things as a society is always a good idea because only when you face things can you actually do something about it. And it's taken us a while to like accept the reality of not not just accept the reality, but to actually like come together and start to do something about it as a culture, so I think that shows like breakthrough and it shows that another level of integration of the darkness that exists. And and I love that. Like there's a part of me that cheers when those kind of things happen, when those kind of breakthroughs happen in our culture. Um, there's another reality out there that we're not really talking about as a culture. And that's a reality that I'm in right now. And and that is the reality of demonic bondage and how the enemy, if he wants to, um, but also like, it's not just the enemy. I don't want to just put demonic bondage on the enemy because often God allows whatever the enemy does, God has to allow. So if you are in demonic bondage, if you are in prison, as they say that it's like demonic bondage is like prison and it's like a form of spiritual captivity. So you're like free to an extent, but you have certain bondage, like you have certain yokes and strongholds in your life um, that keep you from being fully free and fully what we would call delivered. Um, Delivered is another term I can go into more. It's difficult to describe to like people who haven't been saved and haven't experienced what deliverance feels like, but I will definitely do some videos on that. But I think, yeah, I was getting back to, my question has been, do I share about the demonic bondage that I've been in with my previous community? I think the answer is yes. I just think, I don't know, like I have to maybe watch how much I share, things like that. And I'm feeling resistance right now, um, from the enemy as I try to speak about it. Um, but yeah, that's the question that's been on my mind because my friend kind of, I posted some things about like my walk with Christ, and I try to make everything that I share like I try to make it personal. I try to make it like this is my experience and not saying like you have to feel this way, you have to believe this way. I try to just make it like this is what, like I am experiencing with Christ. This is my, some of the beautiful things that I experienced with him, and then some of the more challenging tribulations and things that I've experienced, I share. And I just try to, like I said, I share them from more of like a personal level. But when I heard from Carmel, when I heard from my friend, I'm gonna probably, I'll edit that out. um, but when I heard from her, like when I heard that she thought that I was like judging her path, it like the first thing that came to my mind is like, no, like I'm not judging your path actually. Like I completely understand your path because your path was my path, and I felt the exact same way. Not too long ago, like just 3 years ago, I was on that same path and I had the same mindset. Um, and so it's like I don't have an attitude of judgment towards it. I just have an attitude of I have new information now, and this information could change everything for you if you believed it, you know? And so part of me wants to wait for them to get that information as well, because direct experience is always, I feel like, has always been the best teacher. Like for me, I'm feeling a lot of resistance coming in from this general region. For any like Christians who understand like witchcraft and stuff, definitely feeling it right now, like this like heaviness coming from there. And then so I'm pushing through that because I'm like a lot more weighed down than when I first started the video, as you might notice. Um, but so my question, and it makes me like stumble and like, um, what was I saying though? So it makes me question, like should I let her and like, everyone else in my community just kind of discover for themselves, like, because it's a journey, and I know that they're still on that journey. They're still on that journey, and I respect that. And like my first instinct is just to be like, let them be, like let them be, you know, and they will come around to it. Like if when Jesus finds them, when Jesus reaches them, he will reach them in their own particular. When he does, it's going to be like so specific to them, and it's going to be unmistakable, and nothing can shake their belief in him. Nothing will be able to like shake that. They will know that they're dealing with Jesus, and they will know that they've been saved. And so do I really need to like rush that process for them? Do I need to confuse them? Because also like hearing this information is a paradigm changer. It's like a worldview changer, and part of me is just like, who am I to change your whole worldview if I even have that power? If like you would even allow this worldview to enter your worldview. Um, I know that like my posts are opening people up to the idea of Christ and opening them up, in ways that maybe they hadn't even been thinking about. And they respect that I'm on this path, and I think they maybe are starting to like understand like there really is a Jesus, like there really is like, like Jesus is real. He's not like a made up character. He's living, every day. Like we can talk to him at any time. He really is alive and like well, and um so I think that what's kind of been good through my posts is that people are starting to like sense that. They're starting to sense like, wow, like she really is on like an authentic journey with Christ, which is pretty cool because not that long ago, they were sort of like in the dark about that. Like it was all just assumptions about Christ, as who he was as a historical um, person, something that happened in history, who he represented as, sometimes in the New Age, it's like he was an ascended master, he's an ascended master, and you know, he's an incredible ascended master, akin to like Buddha and these other ascended masters, Krishna. You can put Jesus in the same category, and it's like, no, that's not true. He's not in the same category. He's the son of God. He's literally the son of God, the creator, the father, like the one who created all things is Jesus. And Jesus is moving around right now, like in people's lives and changing their lives, and he's finding them in dark places and he's pulling them out and he's giving them these incredible experiences of healing, and he's just transforming lives all around the world and all around everywhere right now as we speak. Jesus is doing that. He's moving. And so that's amazing, you know, to know that. And once you have an experience of that, like you can't go back from that, you know, to know that he is so alive and well. And it changes everything, And so I think it's beautiful that my community is like at least acknowledging that like Jesus is like that I'm on an authentic path, that I really am having these authentic experiences with with Jesus and with God. That's a breakthrough. Like that's huge, compared to where they were even 6 months ago before I started posting, before there's a few other my other members in my tribe have been like slowly there's been like a handful that have also been awakening around the same time. And I think because it's like it started off with just like a few, and people were like, oh, like why is he talking about the Lord, why is she talking about the Lord so much, like. And I remember me being that person when it was happening to them. And like I wasn't criticizing. I personally didn't have very strong like any negative reaction to it. It was just kind of more like, if anything, I had that maybe they had like religious backgrounds and that they were flipping back to that there was a part of them that was like pulling them back to their upbringing and making them resist like the new age, um, making them feel guilty for being part of the new age. Like that was part of my thought process when one of my friends was going through her process. And I was just like, maybe she's just flipping back to like her religious ways, and she's feeling guilty for being part of, the spiritual community. Because I didn't understand. I didn't have that direct experience with Jesus. But now like it's amazing after everything that I've gone through to like really understand like just how real he is and how like amazing he is, and to be able to connect with my brothers and sisters over that and feel like we're together in that, and to feel like there's kinship beauty and stuff involved in that. And so I just think that's really beautiful. And I think it's beautiful that I can share that with them now, and that we've gone through this whole like, 'cause went through this whole 7 year journey with them. And then now, like, to actually to be able to like experience Christ with them is like amazing. It's like we've gone through just so much together by this point, and so it's really like meaningful. Um, there's extra like bond. I don't know, I'm getting some like witchcraft, but um, yeah, like I'm really grateful for my friends and for that the bonds that we share and the fact that we are able to like share our connection to Christ and stuff right now. And I'm kind of speaking that over myself right now because I feel the enemy resisting that. Like he wants me completely isolated with like no friends. So yeah, that's not going to happen. Um, but anyway, yeah. So that's kind of been my story as far as like going through the changes like in my community and stuff. And it's been really cool. It's been really neat to like experience the people who like have been on this walk and stuff, and to be able to like walk that with them and feel together with them on that. And um like I said, having gone through so much together and like be able to be in that together still. Like, and yeah, and I think that there's always going to be like some misunderstanding between me on my new path and like where I was before, because it's just such different paths. And until you're walking this, like you're not going to quite understand like where I'm at. And you can have like you can try to have an understanding of it and like love in your heart, and like wow, okay, Monica's on that path now, and like be supportive and everything. But there will still be a little bit of like a division there. And um yeah, and it makes me sad because I'm like leaving behind something that I was part of for like 7 years. But I'm glad, like, some of those friends I still feel that they still have love for me. We can still like, you know um we can still connect over like the common like we still have our shared humanity and everything, and like we can still connect over those points. But yeah, it's a little hard. And I'm sure like anybody who's been on this path, um going from the new age to um the Christian walk, can relate to some of these experiences. And I would love to hear like in the comments about your experiences, and if anyone would even want to do like a interview together, like to do like a talk about it together, like let me know, because I think this is a great conversation to have. There's a lot of testimonies talking about like, moving from Jesus to from the new age to Jesus, but there's not a lot of talks about like that, all that struggle like in between, all that struggle with like your friends and your friendships and the way that everything in your life like changes, and how like you can go through seasons where you're like feel totally alone, and no one to relate to, and you used to have a whole community of people that you could relate to. You used to have like, I mean, I had like a whole community in DC that all shared the same like thoughts and beliefs that I did. And I felt so supported and so like loved and so like part of something. And that's one thing that I have had to sacrifice, like in this walk with Christ, is all of that like love and that support, that understanding, that just like mutual sharing of our paths. And I know that I can come into fellowship with other Christians, and I absolutely will. And I've had started to this past year. I found a church like in my area, and I was going to it, and it was beautiful. And I loved the Bible studies teacher. I really felt like I resonated with him, and that's like a spiritual term, but like I really loved Paul, and I really felt like like a biblical connection to him actually. And so it was beautiful. But then I was experiencing some trials that the Lord was putting me through the church and through some of the people going to the church. And I started to understand what religious or spiritual narcissism was and how people can be manipulative even in the church. And I'm not saying this to like um, bad talk like any churches. I'm just, and I think church is great for people to get to go to and like have support and community. I love that. And I'm not speaking against that. I just my experience, that the experience that God wanted to like walk me through was the experience of what happens when you encounter like a spiritual narcissist, or I guess I've always had spiritual narcissists because I was in the new age, I was in the spiritual community, but now Christian narcissists also exist. And no, I don't call everyone narcissists. Only the people that fit that bill. That's a theme in my life that I'm here to expose, and so the Lord puts those things on my heart in case anyone's wondering. I've had that said recently, like, not everyone's a narcissist, and it's like, yeah, I know, like, I'm well aware that not everyone is a narcissist, but I'm also aware of what a narcissist is, and I am aware now when I spot them. And again, it's been a big part of my path and my like what I'm here to expose. And so I think that's why I encounter it more. And God wanted me to see like it also happens in the church, and and what that looks like when it's a Christian. And for me, it was somebody who, it's the Christians who are envious of what the Lord is doing in your life and are willing to go to like drastic measures to falsely accuse you of things, often to like the pastor or like the community there. And somehow, I don't know how it works like yet. Maybe the Lord will reveal that to me soon. But there's some kind of system there where if you falsely accuse another Christian of things, you are somehow entitled to some of their blessings. Like, I don't exactly know how that works. I know that it's something you can bring to the courts of heaven. Like, you can bring false accusations. This is all like, it's kind of like there's a legal system in Christianity. Like, there's a legal system that operates in the spirit. And so those Christian narcissists, just the same as like the narcissist in the physical reality, will often use the courts to their advantage to gain whatever thing they want to gain from the victim. They will use they will use the law against their victim. And so we're beginning to know that that's a reality in the physical world. And anybody who's had to go through like crazy lawsuits with their narcissistic ex, or any crazy like custody battles with their narcissistic ex, um, understands what I mean by that. And often narcissists are amazing at knowing the law because they know they can use that to manipulate the person in their life. And so it's the same thing when it comes to the Christian narcissist. They are amazing at knowing the law, which is the Bible, which is the commandments. They know the law, they know the Bible, but they use that knowledge to extract what they want out of the unsuspecting Christian, the one who's new on their walk, the one who's more of a babe in Christ, which is what I've been for the last like 2 or 3 years, just coming into this walk, and then and like coming into these beautiful blessings that the Lord was providing and providing, um, and then to find that there are people who want to take those blessings from you and will use these manipulative means to do that. They will use the law against you. And that's another topic of conversation that I would love to like have with you guys and maybe future videos. But sort of like how we should respond to that. How should we respond to false accusations when the Christian narcissist is bringing you up on trial before the courts of heaven, and also like what purpose is that to serve in your life? Like if this walk with Christ is about becoming blameless before the Lord, becoming as perfected in Christ as we possibly can, then do we want to use as much of the narcissist criticisms and critiques to our advantage? Do we want to accept those criticisms, accept those critiques if they're true? Like, because half the time I'm finding that they're not even true. They're like completely like falsified, like they're completely like made up by the narcissist. So, uh, yeah, that's where it doesn't serve like anyone's good. It's just like that would be just a complete false accusation. But like when it is true, do we want to take those things? Do we want to take those critiques and accept them as if they are true and say, find where there's truth in that? So it's just like taking accountability. It's just like, um, when somebody comes to you with a critique, even if they come to you in like a harsh way, even if they're like, you know, they're not being like subtle about it at all. They come to you in a harsh way and they're accusing you. Like the person who wants to become a better person is going to stop and is going to like reflect and say like, is there any truth in that? Like, can I improve? And I think for the Christian that wants to become as blameless as they can, they want to take the critiques, you know, of these people. They want to take those critiques seriously so that they can improve themselves, and to grow like wherever they can grow. And that's how you become like spotless. That's how you become like, that's how you grow to like your greatest like level of growth. Like, is to like welcome criticism in all its forms, but there's a line there. There's a line that you don't want to cross, because false accusations don't serve like anyone's good. Like they don't serve anyone's good. They only serve to ruin reputations. Um, they only serve to trash a person's name in a community where like sometimes they haven't even entered, like in my personal experience. Um, they only serve to make that person paranoid about who is saying what about me and why and where and how and what the heck. That's was part of what was happening for me. It was like, what the heck is going on? Like, I don't even like. I feel all this stuff happening in the spirit, and I have no clue like what's going on and where this person is like running with all this information. And then you see the you damaging the effects of their accusations against you. Like you see that speakers that you're listening to are now starting to like emulate what that person said, and it's like, and it's about you, and yet you can't really confront it, because if you confront it, then it feels like you're being defensive, and yet anybody who's having their reputation trashed in a whole community is going to be defensive, right? So again, we're dealing with narcissists here, and we need to understand that we're dealing with narcissists when it comes to false accusations. We can't take every accusation seriously. We have to like run it before the Lord, run it before like multiple people, preferably people who have actually had interaction with the person. In my case, there was only one person spreading these accusations, and she was the only person that was around me. And then we did not have a long history together. Like I met her not that long ago, a couple of years ago at an ecstatic dance, um, when I was in the spiritual community, and I was in Florida. I'm still in Florida, but we met just a couple years ago at an ecstatic dance. And then we met, and I had a way when I was in the spiritual community of like instantly connecting to people and trusting people, and that was something that I've really had to like learn and really had to like grow out of, because it's really caused a lot of harm in my life. Like I had to learn like who to trust and who not to trust, and not to instantly like trust people, like not everybody has your best interests at heart, and I'm just noticing it's been 40 minutes since I started the video, so I don't know if this is going to upload on YouTube, but I'll try to figure out a way to upload it somehow, or break it up into like sections. But I do want to go more into the situation with this friend, because some of you might relate to that. But basically, like betrayal, from, yeah, betrayal. And so I'll go more into that dynamic. Um, I think I'm going to stop it here because I don't know if I'm going to be able to upload this. All right. And I will look forward to talking to you guys in future videos. Bye bye.